Starting off with the first movie, in 2007 came Transformers, the first live-action Transformers produced by Michael Bay. This movie in all was very great, amazing, close-up shots, super realistic for early 2000s, leaned into military, which most movies didn't want to lean to, mostly because of the near time of 9/11. But Michael Bay decided to lean into the more military-like instead of pushing away like most movies or shows did. Overall, the plot of this movie and the actors were just perfect. The CGI was perfect, realistic, and I think this movie would get a 9.9 out of 10. This movie was just amazing, especially for it being the first movie. Although some people criticized it for not it being like G1, it was still pretty good. Now onto Revenge of the Fallen. Although Revenge of the Fallen did have some of its goods and its bads, mostly people say this movie was carried due to the forest battle that Optimus had with the rest of the Decepticons. Although that forest battle was also pretty good, I think there are some better parts of this movie, such as when he got his Jetfire and fought the Fallen and blew off Megatron's face. I think that's definitely a plus to this movie. I could see why some people may not like it. I think this movie could probably get a solid 8 out of 10. But for a tier, I'd give it a B tier though. Some people back then also didn't like the twins since they were somehow racist to I guess black culture or something due to how they were, especially with Skids and Mudflaps, the Gold Tooth. I think those characters were funny. I don't think anything was offensive at that time. It might have just been at that time, but still, looking back on it, Skids and Mudflap were definitely funny. Also, for the villains, the Fallen is an absolute perfect character, especially with the plot and what he wants to do. I think this movie is just amazing, definitely better than the ones that we got later down the line. Now for one of my favorite Transformer movies of all time, Transformers 3, aka Dark of the Moon. This movie was, if not, perfect. Everything about this movie made sense, introduced more characters, Sentinel Prime, great character, great villain, had his priorities straight. The plot of this movie was just perfect. By the way, Dark of the Moon grossed over $1.124 billion globally, making it, if not the most successful Michael Bay movie of all time in Transformers history. I think the plot of this movie and Sentinel Prime in general, I love Sentinel Prime's design. The betrayal was so unexpected until Sam pieced everything together, then it started to make sense and come in place. One thing I did not like was, it's just a nitpick, but that Ironhide got killed off. But other than that, I think this movie is just perfect. 10 out of 10. And I recommend you watch this at least. Here's a movie that people didn't really sit right with, mostly due to the human characters and the new Autobots, such as Hound trying to be a replacement for Ironhide. I think, yeah, that wasn't a good idea to do, but I'll tell you later why it's not really Michael Bay's fault for the fourth installment of this movie. Although most people do not like Optimus Prime's new design, I think his design is actually quite cool. And since Michael Bay heard about backlash from the issues of, overcomplicated, too much alien, not humanized enough, he tried doing that, but it just resulted in being worse, where people either way hated on it, saying, oh, it's not alien enough. He tried taking that backlash and fixing it, and it ended up just becoming worse for himself. Instead of the 2 years timeline, instead it's a 3 years to create this movie. But in all, I think this movie is good. I just think the human characters need a little bit of development. Other than that, let's go with the Autobot characters, such as Drift. I think his design is awesome. A samurai, his vehicle mode is cool. Although Hound is not a replacement and will never be a replacement for Ironhide, I think Hound is kind of funny and also pretty cool for how he uses his words and his ways. And then there is Crosshairs, Mercenary, yeah, all mixed up and stuff. Crazy. I think his trench coat is actually pretty cool, but some people question why he even has a trench coat, because it doesn't really fit a Transformer like him. But other than that, I think this movie was alright. I have to give it a B tier though, but I think But to be fair, it was the second most grossed movie of all time for the Transformers live action. Now, for me and every other Transformers fan, I think this movie in general was just sad and confusing. Since basically Michael Bay felt like, well, for all of us, like everything was just stripped away. The original Transformers concept was just all gone, taken away. I do like the whole night idea. I think that part was amazing and pretty cool of that as a concept, fighting Quintessa. But the whole movie just kind of had me confused as a kid. In all, I think this movie could have had potential if Michael Bay just had a couple more days, or not days, or years to have a chance to understand where he could put the movie at. And the movie's plot and all was mostly confusing. The ending, sure, Autobots won, they gotta go home, yippee, hooray. But this movie just mostly confused me. I didn't hate it, it was just confusing. And I'm gonna tell you why in a bit, why Michael Bay didn't even want to do this at all. It turns out Michael Bay wanted to end the movie at Dark of the Moon. But Paramount pressured him into coming back. Another reason is that he feared that if any other director got their hands on it, they might have screwed up the directing and messed up the franchise for all. So that's the most reason why he. So in all, I don't think this is Michael Bay's fault. I think Michael Bay was just worried and he felt cornered and he didn't want anyone to mess up the franchise. Seen this happen before with Transformers 1 2024. As such, they said there wouldn't be another sequel to that movie when that movie made an absolute killer. So it's mostly Paramount at fault. Yes, Michael Bay screwed up, but in all, if he just ended it at the third installment, everything would have been fine. Or if he had time, it would have been all better. Okay, as for the reboot for Bumblebee, I have issues with this movie. It has nothing to do with like the plot or how it's supposed to be, really. Actually, yeah, it's how it's supposed to be. Okay, so this movie is about Bumblebee, right? It's supposed to be his journey and all this yada yada. But instead, we're kind of more focused on this girl, like, oh, she has family problems, family issues. For me, since I grew up with like Michael Bay movies, you know, funny, that type of stuff, I get it. It's a new installment, trying to reboot the franchise, trying to fix everything up. But for me, I just don't vibe with it, really. I don't think this movie is that great. Although, sure, it has good action scenes, which most Transformers movies do. That's what carries them. For me, this movie is it just didn't hit, I guess. As a kid, I watched this movie, didn't complain, but looking back on it now, this movie is just, in my opinion, not that great. I mean, this movie is just, it's all right. I mean, go ahead, watch with your family, I would suggest. But in all, if you're like super critical or super criticism of this, I would not watch this, really. I don't know. I don't really like this movie that much. But what comes after it is a bit more worse. So I'll show you that in a bit. But I think the villains, such as Shatter and Dropkick, amazing. The ending fight scene was amazing. All of that was awesome. Other than that, this movie, I have to give it a C. But I think the redesigns of more G1s, such as Shockwave and Soundwave, they look pretty cool. So I give this movie a 7 out of 10. Now this movie actually surprised me. It was really good. This movie and all was not the greatest. Definitely rushed. About maybe, I would say 58 minutes. Sure, it's close to an hour, but the human characters just not what I was expecting. I do not think this movie is the best movie of all time. Sure, it's pretty good, I guess. But I don't know. I just don't feel the same impact that the Bayverse movies gave me. Heck, I'd rather watch Transformers Prime than this. That's how much I didn't really like this movie. We didn't really get that much backstory on the Transformers characters. Sure, Transformers, like Michael Bay's, it was supposed to be about Transformers, and Michael Bay's leaned into that. While this was mostly about just the human characters, I feel like it was more about the humans than the actual Transformer. And I feel like the human characters don't even have anything interesting. I feel like they're not that interesting at all in this movie. Unlike the Bayverse or like Transformers Prime, they were actually interesting to know about.